When DE released the single secondary plus thrown weapon functionality in Chains of Harrow, myself and some other players considered, okay, this is a good extension for kind of short-range shotgun-like secondaries such as the Piranha or the Detron. But testing it out, it never really felt too good, even though the throwing damage on some of those weapons was increased, and power throw it was reasonably easy to pull off. The damage numbers you got against kind of mid-level and up enemies never compared to simply closing the gap and plugging in a couple extra shots at close range. And worth noting, my testing excluded Glaive Prime because I don't have it. The guaranteed slash proc makes it generally pretty good across the board, but I decided to kind of focus on other thrown weapons. So the question became, how do you make these thrown weapons useful, helpful, complement your secondary weapon, or how do you make your secondary weapon work well with your thrown weapon, whichever you prefer? Because a lot of the time, using a thrown weapon felt a bit like, rather than something you wanted to do regularly. I ended up testing with the Serrata, mainly because of the moderate base damage and high status chance. But what I found was for long distances, I actually preferred to rely on my secondary weapon rather than trying to leave the target and rely on mods like Whirlwind, which took up a lot of space on my thrown weapon. And after that decision, I found myself using my thrown weapon's channeled return ability as kind of an AoE effect a lot more often. Where this really starts to shine, though, is when you're in stealth. Now, most people know the stealth bonus damage makes a lot of kind of borderline, sometimes even bad melee weapons pretty tolerable. And what it does with the channeled return on thrown weapons is really interesting. Not only do you get the melee damage multiplier, when the melee weapon is kind of flying through the air, you don't even have to hit your enemies with it as long as you graze them with the area of effect. And what this did for me was allowed me to take a single secondary that I liked and pair it with a weapon pretty similar to the Angstrom, all at the same time. It can really allow secondary weapons that normally don't have a great ability to clear out crowds to kind of cover up that weakness. I opted to put a fair amount of gas damage on the Serrata just to kind of accentuate the area damage that it could do. You can also take advantage of this damage bonus with any frame that has some sort of incapacitate, whether it be Ivara, Inaros, or Equinox. This also typically has the added benefit of causing enemies to bunch up as they kind of hit that area of crowd control, meaning you can hit more of them with a single attack. Two final things. The first is, without some sort of armor strip or large amount of consistent slash procs, this is not going to do very well against very high level, highly armored enemies, but that goes without saying for most weapons. It does work just fine against regular high-leveled enemies, however. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on the new dual wielding with thrown weapons, so feel free to leave a comment below. Otherwise, thanks for sticking through this video, and I hope you have a great day.